It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is March 19th, 2025. This is the B block, which means we start around 7:20 or so. Okay, John, Jason Rosenbaum, did you by any chance listen to the politically speaking thing on St. Louis Public Radio yesterday at noon?
Is it the St. Louis City mayor debate?
Yes. Did you catch it at all?
No, I did not. I don't generally follow city politics. No. Was it any good?
Let me put it to you this way. If you had a drinking game where the word liar came up, you wouldn't made it past the first 20 minutes. You'd be passed out on the floor.
Was it past both directions or only in one direction?
Tishaura kept calling Cara Spencer a liar, and it got sort of old after a while, but it was sort of interesting. You know, I mean, the interesting part of this whole crazy thing is, according to Cara Spencer, you know who her advisor is? Her key advisor. So she's gonna.
She makes up some kind. Does she make up either an imaginary friend or like a child?
Well, you got the second one. Her 14-year-old son is her main advisor.
Oh, I didn't know she had kids. Well, that's wonderful. Good for her. So is the make-believe story like, oh, my son told me to be nice, or is it something like that?
No, they talk about when they're driving around, he sees things that she doesn't. You know, I mean, the idea being that younger people see things that older people don't see.
Didn't you just, I'm sorry to interrupt, Brad, weren't you just talking to me about neo-country? And there's some country bumpkin that says, and my kid's in the car and he sees stuff I don't see like a squirrel.
Exactly. It's funny you should bring that up. It's Kane Brown. It's called Backseat Driver. And it's interesting because you picked up on that because I thought the same thing. I thought to myself, okay, I heard that country song the other day, Backseat Driver by Kane Brown, where since he's driving down the street and his son says, Dad, why, Bubba? And he's asking all these questions. And the idea being is, his son is seeing things that his father just doesn't see anymore because, you know, they're just like, you know, it's just everyday
old
stuff.
And jaded.
Right.
So let's get back to the fighting. So Tishaura called Cara Spencer a liar. What did Cara Spencer just like point to reality and crime stats and the economy, or what did she do?
They went back and forth. You know, I have to tell you that I don't think, to me, if I'm a disinterested person, I don't think there was any clear winner on it. Tishaura was essentially, you know, made fun of her because Cara's never been in the Missouri legislature, and Tishaura has, and because there was a point there where they're talking about Cara brought up the fact that why didn't Tishaura contact all these state reps and senators about the police bill, you know, about the local control of the St. Louis Police Department, and they went back and forth, and probably the funniest part of the whole thing was Jason Rosenbaum. He's your buddy, right? Okay, Jason Rosenbaum says, we're going to go into the lightning round, and you've got 30 seconds to answer, or 30 seconds or less, and if you don't answer within 30 seconds or less, you're going to get struck by lightning. I thought to myself, that's pretty good. I like that line.
I knew that it was good. I knew that something interesting happened because I saw the headline on St. Louis Public Radio this morning, and Rosenbaum wrote the recap, and I only read the first sentence. I didn't click on it, but I saw the first sentence said that it was a testy. It was a testy debate.
Yeah, they went back and forth, but I think the interesting thing about it is, you know what they both agreed on, which was actually sort of funny?
What's that?
They both agreed they're progressives and they're left-leaning. Left-leaning would be like, to me, if you say you were leaning, that would be you were horizontal, not vertical. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's...
Yeah.
I don't think it's...
And I think they're both super progressive. And, you know, the other thing is, come mid-April, or whenever Cara is actually officially in office, Tishaura Jones is going to have a great career doing whatever she wants to do. So, like, put partisanship and put ideology or personality aside. Tishaura Jones is going to make a great living. There's a number of groups that would want to hire Tishaura to do whatever. Like, she's going to be fine. And, you know, my opinion is we're never going to fix St. Louis City. I can't imagine a day where I feel safe parking anywhere other than a lot really close to Busch Stadium. I can't imagine ever wanting to step foot inside the city of St. Louis. I think it's disgusting. I don't even like to go east of 270. So I don't think anything in the city is going to change. But people that have hope for the city, including our governor, are probably really excited about having a new mayor.
Jane Dueker, your buddy Jane Dueker. Do you know her personally?
I've met, yeah, yeah. I haven't talked to Jane in a while, but yeah, I would say I know her personally.
She was posting videos. I saw this on Monday on her Twitter account, or X account, whatever you want to call it. Apparently, there were some tourists who came into town, and you can tell these were shot from like the ballpark Hilton, like in a room, probably like maybe 10th floor or higher or something like that. And it's shots of them, of the takeover in Keener Plaza. And then it's shots of the takeover of the street takeover. I believe this was right on Market Street where they're doing donuts and they're doing all sorts of crazy things.
Yeah, I saw those clips on her page.
And there's no police anywhere in sight. It's just like you don't see any police anywhere. And it's like, okay, how does this happen? How does this happen that you have literally hundreds? Wouldn't you say in the one video they showed Keener Plaza, weren't there like hundreds of people there in Keener Plaza? Maybe even.
Yeah, I would say probably at least 100 people.
Well, and then the did you see the videos with the street takeovers where they're doing the donuts and they're doing doing the burnouts?
Yeah. And there was a shooting right there too, right?
Yes, I mean it's like.
Yeah, I mean the climax of the video is the shooting. Like there's a mini confrontation. Now, what I think is interesting is, excuse me, Dave Drebus, who does the Missouri Scout, linked the other day to Jane has apparently started a nonprofit, which is. I assume it's going to be a campaign operation, but it's for educational purposes, a nonprofit. So I'm guessing that has to do with the 2026 county council race. I don't know. But I'm guessing Jane has started a nonprofit so that she can do voter education about St. Louis County issues, for certain council races and the county exec race.
Do you think she'll run again for county exec?
No. Oh, absolutely not.
She's done with that?
Well, first of all, she moved to the city.
She moved. Did she move to the city? That's right. She did move to the city.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she lived in the county for a while. And I mean, when she talks on X, she talks about moving to the city. So I believe her that she's moved to the city. And I don't think Jane has an appetite for actually having her name on the ballot. I think she'd rather be behind the scenes, doing what she does behind the scenes. I'm guessing. I don't know. I haven't talked to her.
Why would she move to the city?
I think she could move to the city. First of all, I think her, unless I'm mistaken, her youngest kid is in college now. This is just me guessing from social media. So she doesn't have to live like I don't know if her kids went to private school or not, but she doesn't have to worry about her kids' safety anymore and like live in a civilized area. So I think she can move to the city. And frankly, what I thought about it was once she lives in the city, that takes away the argument that people make against her on social media of, what do you know? You live in the county. You don't even have a vested interest in this place. And she can say, hey, I actually live in the city.
Well, you know what she can do? She can rent out bedrooms to police officers who essentially live in the county, but they say they live in the city. You know what I mean? Okay, this is Officer Smith. He lives in here. And this is Officer Jones. He lives in here. You know what I'm saying?
What I heard she sold her house to BlackRock. Folks could go back and listen to segment A on March 19th to see what we're talking about there.
Okay, John. Yesterday, something happened to me, which at first was insulting, and then I thought of you, and I laughed. Okay? Are you ready for this, John?
I'm ready.
I go into a Schnucks, and the Schnucks I go to most of the time has security guards right there. So that'll tell you the neighborhood I'm in.
I know exactly which one you're talking about. Go ahead.
When I go into my Schnucks. And the one security guard, I'd seen him in there from time to time, and it was a new security guard. As I walked in, he's standing next to one of these scooters, and what do you call them, John?
Obesity scooters.
And he yells out to me, "Sir, would you like to use this?"
Oh, Rod, that tells you that you finally eclipsed 3 bills.
Well, I'm not obese. I weighed myself just the other day. I'm 204, which is not bad for a guy who's 6'2".
Your height, that's really good, Brad.
So I'm 204, but I have a limp. So I think he was probably thinking that I needed that to navigate the store because otherwise I couldn't without the scooter. So I thought to myself, first I thought to myself, God, that's an insult. And secondly, I thought to myself, John, will love this story.
I love the fact that just on site he thinks that you're handicapped.
Right.
What he didn't see, he didn't watch you in the parking lot, parking 3/4 of a mile away so you could get your steps in.
But see, that's the funny part of it is I parked at the end of a row way out from the store, like maybe 25 parking spaces way out from the store. And I walk in because this is my 10,000 step thing. I know people tired of me talking about that all the time, but I learned that from the Arthritis Foundation people, and there's a whole story behind that. But I thought it was interesting that he thinks I'm like, I need that scooter to navigate around the store. Okay, I don't. Okay. My old alma mater, I don't know if you saw this. You probably saw this yesterday in St. Louis Public Radio, and I heard it a couple other places. And I felt bad about this. My undergraduate alma mater, SIU Edwardsville, is eliminating the physics department. Did you see this story?
I did see the headline, yeah.
Man, and you know what's sad about this is in other countries, they probably have an overload of students in the physics classes. In our country, nobody wants to take the physics classes. Now, I will tell the story that when I went back to school, and originally I was going to go back to school to get my meteorology degree from St. Louis University, I needed to pick up some classes. And one of the classes I picked up was physics. And I thought to myself, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'll hopefully be able to ace this class, or at least, maintain my sanity at this class. I'm not going to tell you the year, but this was when Ronald Reagan was in office, okay? And he was talking about the Star Wars project, which was going to be this, essentially, which turned into like the Iron Dome thing for the Israelis and stuff like that. This very sophisticated system where we'd be able to shoot down Russia's ICBMs. I'm not going to say the stupid word. ICBMs, the nukes that are coming from Russia that are going to, blow up the United States, okay? My professor was a PhD from Oxford who was he was English. He was actually an English citizen. He was here on a work visa, and he was my professor. And he got hired by, I don't know if it was McDonnell Douglas. I guess it was back in the day. It was McDonnell Douglas. He got hired to work on the Star Wars project. It was probably the toughest class I ever took, but it was one of those things like no pain, no gain. I can still, on a daily basis, remember things that happen in my daily life that I can explain through physics. Is that crazy or what?
Yeah. So like if you look at your balance sheet, you're able to tell the banker, be like, hey, this is called gravity.
No. I mean, I'm talking about like, object A, running into object B. If you throw somebody off the roof of a building, what's the terminal velocity? All sorts, of crazy stuff like that. And the point being is that here you have an institution that essentially is, and the reason they say is because they have a lack of interest in the classes, and they talk about the number of majors and minors has drastically decreased, and even the upper level courses, the 300 and 400 level courses, are sparsely populated. So they're going to essentially phase out the physics department and move it into another department. And I'm thinking to myself, how sad is this? Because if you get any kind of an engineering degree, there's so many different degrees that require physics. Like, for example, my degree was going to be in meteorology, and you had to have a physics degree. Or physics, you had to have a certain number of credits in physics classes for that. And I just thought it was a sign of the times because of the fact that why do you go to college? And I can see the thing, because students are going like, well, why would I want to take a physics class? Because of the fact that's going to be hard, and I'll have to study, and I might get a low grade. Instead, I'm going to take basket weaving 206 and just ace that class because I can basket weave. You know what I'm saying, John?
Yeah, and so don't you think that reasonable people, if you're 18 years old or 17 years old, you think, okay, jobs that involve having to do complex mathematical equations, number one, are hard, like you just said, but also it's going to be replaced by AI. Why do I need to know math if I can just ask Alexa or ask my phone what the principle of XYZ is? Why do I need to know how to do it? Because AI is going to replace all those jobs anyway.
Well, I see what you're saying, and I still don't necessarily believe that. I don't think that AI... See, I'll give a parallel. About 4 or 5 years ago, if you watch any of these, if you were looking at any kind of a article that had to do with financial stuff and you saw ads, what were all the financial ads about? And you might pick up on this, John. They were all talking about investing in 5G. They were talking, oh my God, when the cell phones go to 5G. Remember that, John? Everybody was,
I do remember that.
5G.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I will ask you this, John. Now that we have 5G, has it really changed our lives?
I mean, I don't see a difference, and I don't think most people see a difference now.
That's sort of my point. And I think this is the same thing with AI. I think everybody's going, oh my God, nobody's going to have to go to school anymore because you're just going to ask AI, go into ChatGPT and say, build me a rocket that's going to take me to Mars, and the thing's going to give me all the equations, stuff like that. I don't think it's going to happen to that extent. And I think it's the same thing. I think people's being overblown because of the fact that, just like what you said, you heard all these people talking about, oh my God, when 5G gets here, it's going to change the world as we know it. And it hasn't done squat for the most part. Most people, because if you had 4G LTE, which was pretty damn fast, 5G, unless you're running like very complex equations on your mobile phone, it's not a lot of difference between 4G LTE and 5G. Matter of fact, I'm using stuff right now at this very radio station that's running on 4G LTE, and when I do like a speed test on it, it's showing me like 30, 40, 50 megabits per second.
And that's super technical, and I don't understand that. But I think what's great about your example, Brad, is that I think a lot of people, when you did the voice of the dummy that's like, it's so great, it's going to change everything. I think if I'm working for T-Mobile in the year 2017, I'm building messaging for my lawmakers and my regulators that say, hey, the public needs this because the public needs faster XYZ. So that dumb guy voice that you did read T-Mobile and industry messaging for years and bought into the promise of how great it's going to be. So he regurgitates it, tells his knuckle-dragging friends about it, and all of a sudden everybody believes that 5G is going to be great because his state legislator is on the mouth talking about how great 5G is going to be, and they just begin repeating the industry talking points.
And John is behind those industry talking points, at least at
I
one
know,
point.
I used to be. I mean, I don't do that anymore.
In
but
life
yeah,
he was.
I mean, you build the demand curve on one side, you put pressure on people, and suddenly that's the story. Hey, we need GMOs because we're going to have 73 trillion people per square foot. We have to approve these GMOs or people are going to starve.
An interesting thing about that is I heard on NPR the other day talking about the global population shrinkage, which once again.
Yeah, and remember, you and I have talked extensively about Paul Ehrlich and the idea of the population boom, and now everybody's freaking out about the fact that, we have a bunch of incels who aren't breeding anymore.
Right. because they're not, first off, they're not dating anymore. They talk about the Japanese young men don't date. They don't, they're like, women, what do we need women
if
for?
If you can have an AI girlfriend, why would you want to hear a real broad talk about how she's bloating?
Right. And you got anime, so what do you need a girl for, right? You got anime, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a break. And in the next block, I have some very sad news, okay?